And so this week they wore T-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark. Here she is.
The T-shirt, just United Front was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
In just a single remark, WNBA star Kelsey Plum completely derailed what had been a unified protest from her fellow players. During a press conference where the team was collectively pushing for better pay, she unexpectedly took aim at Caitlin Clark. The irony. Clark is largely seen as the driving force behind the surge of money and attention the league is now enjoying. Precisely the reason these players even have room to negotiate. This wasn't just a slip-up or bad timing. It felt like an open act of hostility, a moment that exposed the deep jealousy and simmering resentment that could fracture the WNBA from within.
These WNBA players, they get more unlikable every day. And the blatant jealousy, the blatant hatred towards Caitlin Clark is, it's obvious. They don't even try to hide it.
Everything was in place for what should have been a powerful display of unity. During the WNBA All-Star Weekend, both teams agreed to take the floor wearing matching black shirts emblazoned with a simple yet defiant slogan, "Bet on Women." It was meant to send a clear message. This was more than basketball. It was a collective stand for fair pay, better benefits, and long overdue respect from the league. The coordinated gesture, organized by the Players Association, was crafted to symbolize that no matter what happened on the court, off the court they stood together as one, but that carefully built image of solidarity wouldn't survive the post-game press conference. With the cameras rolling, microphones hot, and reporters leaning in, Las Vegas Aces star and Union Committee member Kelsey Plum stepped forward. She opened with the classic warning that usually comes before something controversial, not to tattletale. Then came the bombshell. According to Plum, not a single member of Team Clark even showed up to that meeting. In that single sentence, what began as a moment about collective strength instantly turned into a public swipe at the league's biggest name and her entire squad. What was supposed to be a united cause had been turned inside out, exposing fault lines that split the locker room and threatened to overshadow the very protest itself.
Good. So the T-shirts don't bother me. But why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private.
We ain't worried about salaries. And we know the monetary dynamics of sports. And we know your league doesn't make a profit. And the only hopes of it making a profit is that lady right there on my screen, holding the number 10 Lexi Hall jersey. That is the person that can make the profit, and they know it.
Kelsey Plum's remark wasn't just a careless dig or a slip of the tongue. It landed like a bomb right at the center of one of the league's most delicate and vital dynamics. To grasp just how destructive that single comment was, you have to look at what fans and analysts now call the Caitlin Clark effect. Before Clark arrived, the WNBA existed in a narrow lane. It battled for TV time, often played in half-empty arenas, and struggled to capture mainstream attention. Since her debut, everything has shifted. Entire venues that once had empty rows are now sold out months ahead of time. Broadcast ratings have exploded, in some cases surpassing long-established sporting events on major networks. For the first time ever, teams are flying on chartered planes, a dream that once seemed impossible. Clark isn't simply a standout rookie. She's a one-woman economic engine, a cultural force who has pulled millions of new fans and dollars into a league that desperately needed both. She's become, without exaggeration, the WNBA's golden goose. And that's what makes Plum's words so bewildering. On the same day players marched out in shirts demanding a larger share of the pie, Plum chose to publicly call out the very person who brought the feast to the table in the first place. It's a stunning act of self-sabotage, a paradox where the beneficiaries of a revolution appear intent on turning against its driving force.
0 members of Team Clark were present for that meeting. How does it work out that the three biggest players in the Players Association had an idea about wearing a Pay Us What You Owe Us t-shirt, make this decision last minute that this is what the players will do. Team Clark somehow isn't present in the meeting that this will take place. You're telling me that all the players on Team Clark were either uninformed that this meeting was taking place, or they all would rather do something else?
As the dust from Plum's explosive comment began to settle, a far more cynical theory started to gain traction among fans and analysts. Could this really have been nothing more than a clumsy slip in a high-pressure setting? Or was it something much more deliberate? When you examine the circumstances, the entire situation starts to look suspicious. The meeting where players decided on the t-shirt protest was called and led by the WNBPA's executive committee, a group that includes Kelsey Plum herself. This wasn't an informal gathering, it was a planned strategy session, and the committee knew exactly who was and wasn't in attendance. Yet, even though Caitlin Clark and her teammates allegedly skipped that meeting, they still walked onto the court wearing the shirts, standing shoulder to shoulder with everyone else in support of the cause. And that's where the cracks in the narrative begin to show. If Clark and her squad were truly absent, did anyone even make sure they were properly notified or invited in the first place? To some, this entire chain of events feels a little too convenient, like a trap. It left Clark in a lose-lose situation. If her team hadn't worn the shirts, the backlash would have been immediate, branding them as selfish and unwilling to back their fellow players. By putting the shirts on, they supported the cause, but still ended up being attacked afterward, portrayed as half-hearted participants who didn't really care. Seen from that angle, Plum's comment starts to look less like a careless gaffe and more like a calculated move, one designed to damage Clark's reputation no matter what choice she made.
She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew she was being shitty, and she was. That's what she was doing. She knows Caitlin Clark's got a ton of fans that support her, and she purposely gave her a double middle finger. I mean, that's what she did. And to the fan base.
No members of Team Clark were present when the decision was made to wear Pay Us What You Owe Us t-shirts? That sounds like the Players Association bigwigs conspiring behind the scenes, ambushing Team Clark into wearing that. That's what that sounds like to me.
If anyone still needed convincing that Kelsey Plum's remark wasn't just a harmless joke, all they had to do was watch the reaction of the person sitting right next to her. Sabrina Ionescu, one of the league's biggest stars and a member of Team Clark during the All-Star game, couldn't mask her immediate response. The moment the words left Plum's mouth, Ionescu's entire demeanor changed. Her posture stiffened. The relaxed, friendly tone she'd had during the press conference evaporated, replaced by a sharp, visible irritation. She averted her gaze from the cameras, dropped her eyes to the table, and turned her head slightly away as if silently wishing she could vanish from that moment. It was subtle, but unmistakable, an instant, unspoken verdict from a peer who knew exactly how damaging those words were. That brief, awkward silence said what no one dared to voice. Did you really just say that? Ionescu's reaction stripped away any illusion that Plum's statement had been playful banter. It exposed it for what it was, a cutting and divisive shot that undermined the very unity the players were trying to showcase. Her face became the first and most honest review of that betrayal, delivered in real time for the entire world to see.
Now, we're not watching their whole sport as a whole. We're not. Now, occasionally we peek in on other games or this and that and the other, but we're watching the Indiana Fever. More specifically, we're watching Caitlin Clark. These players know that, and they hate it. And they can't even hide it.
Personally, I feel like them relying so heavily on Caitlin Clark, one player, to generate their money, it's going to take some time, man, to get y'all those $200, $300 million contracts, bro. Winning. And the way y'all attacking Caitlin Clark, beating her up, battering her, I don't know what the future even look like for y'all with viewership and entertainment. We seen as soon as Caitlin Clark got hurt, the ticket prices dropped 50% in one damn day.
What happened at that All-Star press conference didn't appear out of nowhere. It was simply the most visible example yet of a growing pattern that has shadowed Caitlin Clark from the moment she stepped into the professional arena. For months, there has been a tension, a quiet but unmistakable hostility, from a segment of veteran players that occasionally bursts to the surface. Fans still recall Diana Taurasi, a legend of the game, issuing a chilling warning on live television: reality is coming for her. To many, it sounded less like advice and more like a threat of the rough road ahead. Since then, the sentiment has shown up on the court: hard fouls, excessive physical play, and a tone that feels more personal than competitive. Plum's decision to call out Clark's team publicly fits seamlessly into this broader narrative. It confirmed what many fans had suspected, that, for some of the WNBA's established stars, Clark's meteoric rise and the media frenzy surrounding her are not seen as a gift to the league, but as a challenge to their own legacy and place in the spotlight. This press conference moment was never just about a t-shirt or a missed meeting. It was the day that long-simmering resentment finally boiled over, transforming a private grudge into a public stance.
And she didn't need to put this out in public, not for public consumption. Not to tattletale, but to tattletale. 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that meeting. Sabrina Ionescu, you saw her face like that really needed to have come out. That annoyed the shit out of her. To her credit, that annoyed the shit out of her. Now, she was on Team Clark.
Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself. All right? You went from a Motel 6 in a sketchy part of town to a 4 Seasons in the shopping district. Stop talking. I don't mind the t-shirts. I think you have leverage. I think you deserve more than 9%.
Take away all the emotions and personal drama and look strictly at the numbers, and the backlash from some veteran players becomes almost impossible to understand. For years, the WNBA operated at a loss, propped up financially by the NBA. Crowds were thin, ratings were low, and the league was constantly fighting just to stay visible. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and overnight, it became an entirely different league. Games that used to struggle to draw a few thousand fans are now selling out 20,000-seat NBA arenas within minutes. Broadcasts that were once buried on obscure channels are suddenly pulling in millions of viewers, often outperforming long-established men's sports airing at the same time. The data paints a crystal-clear picture. During a stretch when Clark was sidelined with an injury, ticket prices on resale markets collapsed, dropping by more than 50% virtually overnight. Viewership numbers dipped just as sharply. The league's financial stability, its cultural relevance, and even its leverage in future negotiations are now inseparable from her presence. Every dollar of new attention the players are hoping to cash in on is being generated largely because of Clark. And yet, some of those same players appear intent on cutting her down at the very moment she's holding the ladder they're all climbing. It's not just petty, it's an act of self-sabotage that defies all logic.
They're finding out today. They're effing around and finding out. Oh, no. The fans that just showed up, we don't like that shit. We, rah. No.
I think they deserve a big raise, maybe not 50% of revenues, because NBA stars, there's a lot of them, and they move the needle. The WNBA stars, well, there's one that moves the needle.
It didn't take long for the backlash to hit. The response to Kelsey Plum's comments was immediate, fierce, and overwhelmingly one-sided. The millions of new fans that Caitlin Clark has drawn into the league were not impressed. Almost as soon as the press conference clip hit the internet, platforms like X and TikTok lit up with outrage. Plum was suddenly trending for all the wrong reasons, branded as jealous, petty, ungrateful, and, perhaps most damaging of all, a hypocrite. The narrative she tried to build, that Team Clark wasn't truly committed to the players' cause, collapsed instantly. Instead of isolating Clark, the move only ended up isolating Plum. To the new audience watching, it looked like a veteran player taking shots at a 22-year-old rookie who has done more for the WNBA's relevance in a few months than most have managed across entire careers. The message from this wave of fans could not have been louder. We are here because of Caitlin Clark. Attack her, and you're attacking the very reason we care in the first place. I am trying to call her out. The league's old guard learned a hard truth. This wasn't just a shot at a single player. It was a shot at an entire movement of new supporters who had just arrived. And they were not about to stay quiet.
They're waiting for him. I mean, Camilla's coming, Caitlin's coming. There's more than just that are coming. What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing.
But the fallout from that moment didn't just hit the fans. It cut straight to the heart of the league's own institutions. This wasn't just another player voicing an opinion. Kelsey Plum isn't a bystander. She serves as the first vice president of the Women's National Basketball Players Association, the WNBPA. The union's core purpose is simple: to protect the interests of every single member, whether they're a rookie trying to find their footing or a veteran superstar. For someone in a leadership role to publicly single out and undermine the league's most valuable newcomer is more than poor judgment. It's a direct conflict of interest. Instead of building unity and leveraging the unprecedented momentum that Caitlin Clark has brought, Plum's words exposed a rift. It was an institutional failure that revealed something unsettling: a leadership more focused on guarding the egos and legacy of the old guard than on seizing the opportunities created by this surge in attention. In that moment, the union itself seemed willing to risk its golden goose just to protect its pride.
It really is. These women are insufferable. They don't deserve more money. They don't get any ratings outside of Caitlin Clark. They openly disrespect her. They don't deserve Caitlin Clark. They don't deserve attention. They don't deserve a league.
And at the heart of that leadership failure stands Kelsey Plum herself. Her own background makes her comments even more revealing. Plum came into the league as a #1 overall pick. Like Clark, she has carefully built her personal brand and has never shied away from the spotlight. Few players understand the power of a platform better than she does. That's what makes her comments so striking and so hypocritical. They expose the real engine driving this conflict: professional envy. This was never just about money, a protest, or even a missed meeting. It's about the fear of being overshadowed. For years, players like Plum were the recognizable faces of the WNBA. Then a rookie showed up and drew a spotlight so intense that it has started to eclipse everything and everyone else. Her tattletale comment wasn't just a casual remark. It was a calculated attempt to find a crack in Caitlin Clark's image. By framing her as uncommitted, Plum was trying to plant a seed that, despite all the hype, Clark wasn't truly one of them. It's a classic move born out of insecurity, the kind of reaction you see when someone else's star suddenly rises faster and shines brighter than your own.
By playing lights-out basketball and capturing hearts.
The 2025 WNBA television ratings.
Are you listening? Kelvin, this is for you. Okay, go ahead.
While Caitlin Clark was out injured, she's been injured a lot throughout the season. Down 50% during the time that she was out hurt. The Caitlin Clark effect is real.
There's no doubt about it. And Kelvin, I'm just going to say that.
In the end, this was never really about a t-shirt, and it certainly wasn't about a meeting. At its core, this is a battle for control of the WNBA's future, a growing civil war between the established guard and a force they can no longer contain. The league is standing at the edge of what could be a golden era, holding a once-in-a-generation lottery ticket in the form of Caitlin Clark. She has the ability to take the sport to heights it has never touched before, but that same success has also thrown an unforgiving spotlight on an uncomfortable truth: the jealousy and resentment simmering within the league itself. And unless that divide is healed, those emotions could destroy everything this moment has built. The question now isn't whether the WNBA can grow beyond its wildest dreams. The real question is whether its own players can stop tearing each other apart long enough to enjoy the success they've been chasing all along.